Greg Garrett's connection to the Chesapeake Bay runs deep.
My family actually came to the York River, my great-great-grandfather, 14 generations ago in 1620. And so we have a deep family heritage connected to this river, the York River, the lowest river of the Chesapeake Bay.
Now, more than 300 years later, Garrett wants to do his part to keep the bay he loves clean. One of the best ways to do that? Oysters.
Each oyster draws in and emits about 50 gallons of seawater a day. So as the water passes by, all day long the oysters are drawing it in and spitting it out. It's God's natural way of purifying the seawater, is the oyster. There is no filter, no natural filter better than the oyster for cleaning the bay.
5 years ago, Garrett started oyster farming by getting all of the necessary state and local leases, licenses, certifications, and permits. Then, after he successfully ran his farm for 3 years, neighbors complained, and the county stepped in. The three main concerns of Garrett's neighbors and the county were noise, smell, and that large trucks would be driving through, disturbing this peaceful neighborhood. But the largest truck to drive through is a pickup. There's no smell of oysters, and the loudest piece of equipment is an electric power washer, and that can't be heard from halfway across the yard, let alone down here at the property line. The county ordered Garrett to shut down his oyster farm, saying that although his property is zoned for agriculture, including livestock, oysters don't count.
The definition of livestock was any animal grown for food. 3 years after we had our oyster farm, after we were selling it with all the permits from the state, that's when the county created a new definition of livestock. And the new definition of livestock is any animal grown for food except shellfish.
Garrett took the county to court, where the county defended its new definition of an animal. No one from the county was able to speak with us because the case is ongoing, but in a court brief they said, for purposes of ordinary, everyday speech, an oyster is an animal, but not, however, for purposes of the county's zoning ordinance, which has chosen to define the term more narrowly. The county added that while they couldn't regulate what Garrett did with his oysters in the water, they could regulate what took place on his dock. The state of Virginia says that Garrett can use this dock to transport his oysters as long as he's not cleaning or sorting them here. The county says he can't do any of it.
Their position is, even though the land is zoned for agriculture, including livestock, that the oysters could not touch the ground or could not touch our dock. The oysters had to stay in the water, therefore could never be harvested.
In the end, the judge ruled in Garrett's favor.
They said we were within our rights to have the oyster farm, which made us in a grandfathered status.
In today's legal world, however, that's not the end of the story. The county appealed, and the Supreme Court of Virginia will hear the case this fall.
Well, I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars in legal fees. In many weeks, the legal fees exceed the entire revenue for the entire oyster farm. And it's absolutely terrible.
Garrett was recently a guest on John Stossel's show, Illegal Jobs. Stossel commented that after talking to the county administrator, even his producers couldn't tell what the law was.
It's kind of like the Sadducees and the Pharisees. I mean, if you have enough laws on the books, you can find something that anybody you want to accuse of a crime or you want to accuse of doing something wrong, there is a law out there for you to catch them on.
Now Garrett prepares once again to fight for his oysters, with the greater goal of cleaning the bay and inspiring others to do the same. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, York County, Virginia.